If your finances feel chaotic, it's probably not a budgeting problem. It's probably a maturity problem. See, the Bible connects financial disorder to spiritual immaturity, not lack of intelligence, not lack of opportunity, but lack of readiness. In this video, I'm going to be going over on what it means to be immature spiritually and how that affects our finances. And at the end, I'm going to share with you what I call the promise of Deuteronomy 28. Simply obeying the Lord will lead you to success. But this video is going to be about what it looks like to be ignorant and immature with your walk with God, and how that affects even your finances, something most people don't think about. And why am I telling you this? Hi, my name is Timothy. I am a Christian financial coach. I've been a coach for over 2 years now. I've helped quite a handful of people there. I've been saved since I was around 17, 18, and I've been studying personal finance since I was 17. And so during all that time, I've read the Bible front and back almost twice now, helped quite a few people win with money and actually gain success, and I've learned quite a thing or two of my own about what it means to win with money, draw closer to God with how you handle your finances, and create an impact on the world with your finances. Section 1 is what I call milk versus meat. And if any of you know the verse from Paul in the Bible, he wrote a note to the church, and here's what it says. 1 Corinthians 3 verse 2 says, I fed you with milk, not solid food. Milk being like a fatty substance that's easy to consume. For you were not ready for it. You were not ready for solid food. You were not mature for solid food. And even now, you are still not ready. Paul says that the church should have been ready a long time ago, but they are still needing easy substance to sustain themselves. So much so that they need a pasture to sustain the church. The church is supposed to sustain the others around us. The same way you and me are supposed to pick ourselves up and be leaders and lead others to success instead of constantly getting baby fed so that way we can be sustained by others. It's supposed to be the other way around. And this is really what it means to be foolish and ignorant. And section 2 comes from Proverbs. I'm going to list a handful of Proverbs. Proverbs was written by King Solomon, the richest king of Israel, and in my opinion, the richest man to have ever lived. And he wrote these Proverbs, literal Proverbs, the book of Proverbs. And a lot of verses in Proverbs shares what it looks like to be wise versus what it looks like to be a fool, usually in the same verse. So I really love Proverbs for that. And so here's a few of them. Proverbs 21 verse 5 says, the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. I love this verse because it shows that planning is not just a spiritual act, but it applies to every aspect of life. It actually reminds me of this famous quote from Benjamin Franklin, I'm pretty sure. And he said something along the lines of, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And so even the wisest men on our planet have learned that being intentional is the number one key to success. And of course, the opposite is true. If you're hasty and you're just trying to hammer through, no plan, no direction, just pure effort, and probably not even going off of that much, then yes, it will lead to poverty. Proverbs 21 verse 20 says, precious treasure and oil are in a wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it. A foolish man does not have the discipline or the capacity to build themselves up for the long haul, but simply just eat at their foundation until it's all gone, and then they're having to rely on somebody else's foundation. Proverbs 6 verses 6 through 8. I love this one because it shows how an ant is wiser than us. Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, any leader, she prepares her bread sustenance in the summer and gathers her food in harvest time. Something that is so tiny and insignificant has proven to be much smarter than us in some ways. Even the ant knows that they need to prepare for future seasons. A lot of y'all are probably thinking of investing in retirement right now and how much you probably haven't put enough towards that like you should have. I'm not saying all this to beat you up. I'm saying it to make it clear, because where pain is revealed, change will be prepared for. Proverbs 22 verse 7, probably the most common verse about money. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. And what this means is debt limits freedom, and I'll share some more about this later, but I'm not going to go over the controversial how it's bad to be in debt or what debt causes, but just playing around with debt is a great sign of foolishness and financial immaturity. This last one, Proverbs 12 verse 15 says, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice." The same way you are still listening to this video. That, or you fell asleep listening to me somehow. If you're not on this video, it just means you're probably like them, or you had other interest. Anyways, my point is, this is a great example of a wise man if you're still listening, because you're listening for advice. Whereas a foolish person believes that they are top dog, they know best, even though things are not working around them, and they don't listen to others. They are a donkey, if you know about, the stubbornness of a donkey. Now that's section 2. Section 3 is my favorite, and we go over what I personally call the promise of Deuteronomy 28. And the story behind it goes, God was just done giving commandments, vices, good wisdom to Israel just before they were led into the promised land. And this was one of the last chapters of Deuteronomy. And it really says, basically what will happen to Israel, whether they choose to follow the Lord and be obedient to him, or if they choose to stray away, and the consequences of that. Now, Deuteronomy 28 verses 1 and 2 says, "And if you faithfully obey the voice of the Lord your God, all these blessings shall come upon you." Great. You can just think of it as great things, fantastic things, your best dreams. 12 verses 13 says, "The Lord will open to you his good treasury, the windows of heaven," if you've heard that. "You shall lend to many nations, but you shall not need to borrow." I put in the word need. "He will make you the head and not the tail." That's a key phrase. Hold on to that. It's because obedience produces order. Lending reflects strength, your financial capability. This is what I want people to be and understand. And that to be a wise manager with money could simply be described as having the capability to not just sustain yourself, but others. Just wish everyone understood that. Moving on. Deuteronomy 28 verse 15 says, this is where things start to turn, "But if you will not obey, then all these curses shall fall upon you. He shall lend to you," meaning the ones around you that you would have been lending to. You will have to borrow from them. "And you shall not lend to them. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail." Meaning, if you decide to act a fool, you're not going to stay in a leadership-like position, a place of power, a place of security, but you will be the tail, the butt ends. Many times, probably the butt of the joke in your family's conversations if you decide to act this way. Now then, if you want to not act like a fool, I have something that would really help you. It takes about 10 minutes to do. It is called the Financial Clarity Test. It is a 20-question test, and while it doesn't directly go over spiritual guidance, I think I've shown how financial maturity is very correlated to our spiritual well-being, because the Bible refers many times that to be a wise manager with our money is quite a handful of cases is faith. And so 20 questions, it goes over these 3 sections that I call mindsets, habits, and goals. So how you think, what you do, and how you see your future. And so I'll put a link in the description below where you can go take the test. It's completely free. You just put in your email. By putting in your email, you get weekly tips from me, as well as any potential discounts on future programs or stuff like that. And last thing is, thank you so much for watching. Please like and follow this video for to help future people who may be just like you. It helps them out by giving me the ability to reach to them. Also, if you want to connect with me better, you can also follow me on Instagram. You can find the link down below, and you can always message me there. I love to help out and interact with all my followers and able to send them free resources, advice, and even direct them to my Freedom Finders program and how it helps them solve all of these problems, how it means to become a wise manager with money, and so much more, because we really got to learn how to handle our money better. So, again, thank you for watching. I love y'all. God bless. And y'all have a fantastic day. So, till next time.